Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine, and they do a tremendous job right now. Through November 18th, you can get a 75 horsepower and up 4-stroke motor with a free 3-year extended warranty for a total of 6 years on that warranty. You can also get a $500 credit on select Yamaha motors. They're not just boats at Madisonville Marine. Great deals on Yamaha motors as well. All right, I want to welcome the next member of our panel, Josh Ward here, who of course does radio on WNML, AM and FM. Good to have you here, Josh.
Thank you, John.
Welcome in. Let's just go straight to some stats. What I did, I didn't know where this was going to come out. I was prepared to come out here and say, well, people are saying youth is too much, or the youth is real. I didn't expect the numbers to be as eye-popping as they were. I went back through each of Tennessee's games, looked at the participation charts, their starters, the opponent's starters, and then the classes of each of those starters for all 5 of Tennessee's FBS games. Didn't count Western Carolina. Here you go. What I found, as you can see there, for example, Bowling Green on top, Tennessee started a freshman and 10 sophomores in that game, 11 underclassmen. Bowling Green started 5 sophomores. Okay, and it goes all the way down. Tennessee started more underclassmen than everybody they have faced from the FBS level at this point. Now that should be OU instead of CU there, by the way. That's Oklahoma, not Coklahoma. Although under Barry Switzer, it was Oklahoma. But you see, the other teams on Tennessee, Bowling Green started 17 upperclassmen, Tennessee 11. Oklahoma 15 to 10 had the advantage. Florida 14 to 12. Everyone talks about, well, they had 3 freshman offensive linemen, and they did for stretches. Those three freshman offensive line didn't start the game and didn't play the whole game, as has kind of grown into the legend. But you see there, Tennessee has, and then Arkansas, 16 upperclassmen to Tennessee's 10. So you look at that, and then you take another look here. Let's take the next one. This is by percentages. All right, so you got 5 FBS games. That's 110 starts total. All right, Tennessee has divvied it up almost 50-50. 56 starts have gone to underclassmen, 54 to upperclassmen. Their opponents, 30% underclassmen, 70% upperclassmen. All right? Until yesterday, everybody had been saying, well, Hugh Freeze is winning with youth. How's he doing it? So let's take a look here. No, he's not winning with youth either. Now, he's a year ahead of Butch Jones. He's in his 4th year. But look at the upperclassmen starts. 75% of the starts for Ole Miss have gone to upperclassmen. Again, Tennessee just under 50. That was counting Ole Miss' first 5 games. Didn't count yesterday's loss to Memphis. And again, this was a curse because I did Hugh Freeze because everybody talked about him, and Jim Harbaugh because everyone had been talking about him, and both those guys lost yesterday. But Michigan on their website doesn't list their guys who've started. So I couldn't find their stuff. So I simply went to the updated depth charts by both schools, Tennessee's and Michigan's rivals sites. And let's go ahead and take a look. Tennessee's depth chart, 2 freshmen, 9 sophomores starting, so 11 and 11. Michigan in their starting lineup, 1 freshman, 1 sophomore, and 20 upperclassmen. So this idea that, well, Harbaugh's coming in there and winning with youth. No, he's not. He's winning with a lot of upperclassmen starters. And people also forget that Brady Hoke's first year, he was 11 and 2. I'm not saying Harbaugh's not going to be a great coach, but this theory that these other coaches are winning with youth and Tennessee's not, it's not true. And I was surprised that it was as skewed. I didn't anticipate that. I thought it would be the other way and we'd be dropping a bombshell today. Instead, it was a bombshell in the other direction. Josh, I'll start with you. Your thoughts, does that change anything you think about this team when you look at the youth that's out there?
I think it's a reminder of why we thought that Tennessee was more likely, most people at least, thought Tennessee was about an 8-4 team coming into the season. Now the youth has helped Tennessee get up in big games against some of those teams, and then the lead slipped away. I'm not a big believer in the learn how to win part of it, but there is something to the mental side, the confidence. If games start to slip in the 4th quarter, do you tighten up a little bit? Maybe that's where youth comes into play.
There's also something to the physical side of it as well, because if you look at a lot of these teams, even when they start sophomores, they may be redshirt sophomores or they may be redshirt freshmen. So I think what you're talking about is Tennessee is just as young as you can possibly be, because we're not talking about a lot of redshirt guys out there. I mean, these
Some
are true
of them
freshmen.
are, but not all.
A few of them are. And you're also talking about guys who are really sophomores. And on your depth chart, if you've got a redshirt freshman as a backup instead of a real freshman, I think that's a huge advantage. He's been in the system for a year. He knows the offense or the defense a little bit better. So I think, if people want to say it's an excuse, that's fine. There's also La La Land. You can go there.
Mike, your thoughts?
I thought as you look at the snake that swallowed the rat, the big bulls, they're sophomores.
Yeah.
And those sophomores, most of them are playing, Tennessee's playing like twice as many sophomores as anybody. And most of them are playing because they're talented.
Yes.
And you take those guys and make them juniors, I think that's a significant difference. And it points to, again, to 2016 being the year.
Which was initially what everyone kind of targeted,
Yes.
that 2016 was going to be the year, and then Tennessee went and won. They would have been better off losing their bowl game. I mean, really, your expectation, you'd had people grumbling all offseason, but I don't think your expectations would have been 10 wins, gone off the charts the way they did. And you had some national guys who, they always try and pick a dark horse so they can say, well, I was the only one to say that, Vandy was going to win the East. So you had some guys that did that with Tennessee. They were the sexy pick because people watched them in that game against Iowa and said, oh, well, Dobbs is a Heisman winner. Whereas we tried to remind people, you didn't look like a Heisman winner against Missouri and Vandy last year. I think 2016 is still your target date.
And people who picked Tennessee, they weren't too far off, right? Because they did have those big leads against these teams that are, I guess, 6-1 now in Florida and Oklahoma. So they weren't that far off because they did have big leads against those opponents.
But here's the thing I look at with that, and it's interesting. It's like, well, you were off a 17-point lead. Should have won. When did points in the first quarter count more than points in the fourth quarter? Seems to me if you've got a 60-minute game and both teams score 17 points and go to overtime, they both have 17 points. It's not like there's extra for being ahead early. I mean, you can I see what you're saying, and they were close. But I also think you could make a point, well, Jacksonville State led Auburn with 48 seconds to go by a touchdown. So is Jacksonville State better than Auburn? Yeah, I'm sure Jacksonville State fans are saying we blew that, we had it, we should have won
On that
it.
Saturday, they weren't too far off.
So it is close, but I just wonder. I think those numbers are pretty interesting. I know that people have said youth a lot, but when you look at Michigan, they're veteran. When you look at Ole Miss, veteran, and then you see Tennessee is as young as it is, I think it bodes well for the future.
And speaking of misleading generalizations coming out of the bowl game, how about Iowa? 7-0?
Yeah. And that looked like and that was a team that clearly didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Same thing with Oklahoma in their bowl game. And remember, what was it? About 6 weeks ago, everyone was saying, well, this is Bob Stoops last year. They'll be awful this year. They're falling apart. They don't look like they're falling apart now.
Yeah, we can overreact at the end of the season. Did it with Arkansas as well. They got the big win over Texas, and now 2-4. Things haven't gone the way that they thought after that win.
Yeah. Good job, guys. When we come back, we're going to talk about basketball still to come. But next, Steve Spurrier, quitter. South Carolina, what's their future? And is Memphis the best team in the state? Come on back on the Sports Source.
From East Tennessee to the Carolinas, no job is too big for Benedict Construction. Patios and decks, custom remodels, even custom homes. With a reputation for excellence, rely on the custom work of Benedict Construction.